Welcome everyone to the final session of the Telegraph Beauty School Series 2. My name is Annabel Jones and I'm the beauty editor at large here at the Telegraph. Over the next hour, I'll be talking to Skinesis founder, CEO and product formulator Sarah Chapman as she reveals how to give your skin a beauty salon glow with at-home treatments. All you need to know about facials that you can do at home and all the steps required. Without further ado, I'd love to introduce Sarah to join us.
Hi, Annabel.
Yay!
Hi, everyone.
Welcome. Yes. Oh, so glad to have you here. And I know that this has been a really popular session. A lot of people will know that you are not only do you have this amazing brand, but you also sort of celebrity facialist to the stars and well known for working with lots of high profile names, including the Duchess of Sussex, who I know you did her facial sort of close to her wedding day, which is very exciting. So you are an expert in all things glow. So we're so thrilled to find out, what we can do at home. So that's the key point for today. And I thought we could just start with, if you could just take us through what a typical salon treatment looks like, and then we can break it down into easy to follow steps.
Yes, sure. Thank you so much for that. I mean, in the clinic, we do bespoke facials. So every time we look at somebody's skin, we really look at what's going on the skin there and then. So I don't necessarily believe in just following a skin type. I kind of look at skin concerns. So you'll find as we talk through things, you become your own sort of diagnostic. You're able to pull things into your routine when you need them and customize. Like with devices, you can customize what you use with them to get the best results for your skin and what's kind of happening on that day. But we use lots of techniques. We use lots of steaming. So we really prepare the skin with steaming. We use peels, we use extraction devices, a lot of massage, radio frequency, microneedling, LED. So from really hands-on through to some of the most advanced technologies that you can really get that you would find in medical clinics. So we're able to really target and focus our treatments depending on what's going on the skin. It's also, some of my clients have been coming to see me for, 15 years, virtually every single month. So it's about also understanding your skin and taking it on a journey and looking after the skin, no matter what's going on, because your skin changes all the time. If you've not been well, if you've been stuck at home, if you've been holidaying and in the sun, if you've been doing too much partying, it's like all the different sides of life have such an effect on the skin.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, because our skin does change and it reflects what's going on, doesn't it? So like you said, when you come to the end of summer, you're looking at, correcting pigmentation and sun damage. And I know certainly a lot of our readers have put through questions about pigmentation in particular. But yeah, that idea that, it's not just that you have dry combination or oily skin, your skin is a moving target, so to speak.
It's the largest organ in the body, isn't it? I mean, we've got about 2 square meters of skin and the face alone's got 20,000 pores on it. It's a very complex organ. So it's not going to stay static and stay the same forever at all times. And it's about us understanding that and being able to work with that. And the great thing now is that skincare formulas are so advanced. We have all the different devices we can use, and we can do lots with our hands at home as well.
Yes, because during the pandemic, certainly devices were skyrocketing, and people were wanting to know how to use them at home, and so that's been a great journey as well. Empowering people to take care of their skin properly at home and have that salon experience. So that leads me to the first step in an at-home treatment, which we have covered a little bit in a previous session, but I think you wanted to go through the cleansing and exfoliating stage as the foundation to any treatment.
Yeah, and it's such a fundamental part of an everyday routine, but also doing any kind of facial treatment at home. So we kind of call it the cleanse and prep focus. So it's where you're really going to clear off any dirt, debris, grime, pollutants, oxidants, makeup, and you're going to really get the skin clean. And we would use a cleansing product like Ultimate Cleanse, which is an oil base, which will really dissolve all of the natural oils sitting in the surface of the skin. But then a sort of micro acid liquid resurfacing. So getting the skin as clean as you can for your skin without disrupting the acid mantle or the barrier of your skin. So if you're somebody that has a typically oily skin that maybe gets quite congested, you'll obviously want to use something that's different on your skin to somebody who's more sensitive, maybe rosacea prone. So finding your right cleanser is really important, because actually I see a lot of people in clinic who come with really troubled skin, and the first thing is changing the cleanser, and that almost sorts their skin out for them, because often we'll use something that's maybe too harsh or it's not right for the skin. So if you're going to do something at home where you're using a device or you're giving yourself facial massage, the crucial thing is to really get the skin nice and clean to start with. So we remove any barrier and we can really get products into the skin. So we would start off with doing that, with cleansing and then a liquid resurfacing. And this is the same as the beginning of a facial. So whether we're treating celebrities, whether we're treating any ages of skin, whoever's coming in to see us, the first bit would be cleansing, prepping, and then we would generally, depending on the skin, move on to steaming.
Yes. Okay.
So steaming would be our first device that we can talk about today, once you've handled that kind of cleansing.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that as well, because steaming is, you know, I have these sort of like visions of, I mean, I've done it myself in the past where I've sort of taken a bowl of hot water and sort of put my head over, and it does feel, you know, it does feel really nice on the skin. But also from that perspective, I know you have this amazing device that does it for us. But speaking of rosacea and redness and irritation, and you mentioned getting cleansers right and so on. So, you know, because we have had a lot of questions pre-submitted about rosacea. Is there a way not to steam if you're starting it for the first time, or things not to do?
Yeah, I mean, rosacea sort of, it comes in various forms. So you have acne rosacea where you also get breakouts, but rosacea really is that heat sensitivity in the skin, and sometimes it can be quite severe. They don't necessarily know what the cause is for rosacea, but it can then lead to lots of broken capillaries and high color in the skin. And people who have rosacea tend to react to spicy foods, alcohol, things like that. So it again might be a case of somebody judging for themselves what degree their rosacea is. They might be able to tolerate a steam. Our steamer uses like a nano micro mist, so it's very fine. It doesn't feel super hot.
Yeah.
It doesn't direct at sort of one area that then starts to go red and feel hot. It's a very diffused mist. So again, I think it's about how you do your steaming. If you were doing a bowl of water steam, like you said, which I've done many times before as well, you will get probably quite a light, gentle steam. And that for a couple of minutes will be good for the skin anyway. I'll show you the steaming device.
Yeah, show us how it works.
If you don't want to do it over the bowl of water and you want to use more of a sort of professionally created device, this is something that we created for you at home. I've turned it on so you can probably see a bit of the steam coming out here. You fill it with water at the back and you literally just stick it on a tabletop and you let the steam onto your face. You can adjust the nozzle so that you can get it to the right area on your face. You can only probably just see the steam because it is nanoparticles, and it also has an ionic technology in it. So that basically means that when it gets into the skin, it can attract the dirt particles much more easily. So the ionic technology and the nano mist will help you to extract or get rid of any blackheads and blockages in the skin. But because it has that very fine mist, it's also hydrating. So you can use this even if you're super dehydrated and dry. It doesn't necessarily have to be just for breakouts or blackheads or blockages.
Yeah, that's a good point, because certainly at the moment when central heating starts to go on, that's when you can feel your skin getting a little bit tighter and wanting that extra bit of hydration. What does steaming do for our skin that ordinary cleansing is not going to cover?
It warms up the skin, so it starts to open the pores and soften any sebum and dirt. So your skin naturally produces oils and natural sebum, which can solidify and get quite firm. When it's warm, it actually liquefies, and so it moves about in the pores much more easily. So if you have skin that gets congested, it might be that these blockages of sebum have then accumulated with dirt and pollutants from the air, and they're sitting in the skin and they're forming things like blackheads. When you steam and you warm the skin, it starts to sort of break all of those up, so that if you wanted to extract, you can. It comes out very easily. But also it can hydrate and warm. It prepares your skin really for your next stages of your at-home treatment. So aside from doing the sort of whole warming, cleansing, opening up those pores, it also prepares your skin so that when you put more product on, it can absorb more easily. So it makes everything you do more effective, essentially. And we would always say steam at home 2 or 3 times a week. It's not something you need to do every day. You can make it a whole facial routine, but you can just do it after cleansing. A bit of beauty snacking, we call it now. So you can pluck on things and you can do them sort of during the day.
Yeah. I love that, actually, because people have different ways of doing their routine, don't they? Some people will, I know French women take Sunday as their beauty day. I've been told in the past to do everything at once and have that real self-care day, but other people, like you say, just want to fit it in here and there. So and we don't need any added pressure to have to add another layer every single day, when we're rushing.
I think some people love to do a sort of a luxuriating bath and then face masks and facials sort of at home. Some people love to do that. Some people don't really want to do it or don't have the time to do it. So you can kind of do them as more sort of snackable bites throughout the week. And actually that felt so nice, because I've just had this dreadful cough and cold, as you know.
Yeah.
And that was a bit like, when you used to put a little bit of Vicks under your nose and put it over the bowl of water. I kind of feel like that's sort of clearing everything through. So there's also a pleasure factor in doing all of these kind of devices at home, and steaming your skin just makes it feel really warm, and it feels great to actually use it. Something that's really comfortable and nice to use as well.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about double cleansing and all of those things and prepping the skin. And, it's not necessarily about using extra products, but I think it's really key what you said about, making your skin more receptive to these expensive serums and products that people are investing in. So, there used to be so much focus on, retinol or vitamin C or whatever the sort of magic ingredient was. But ultimately, if your skin isn't prepped and receptive and clean and ready for those next steps, like you said, you're really wasting your money on whatever else follows. So
I think that's so true, because our skin is a barrier. It's there to act as a barrier, so to keep stuff in and to keep stuff out.
Yeah.
So which is part of that whole sort of cleansing and prepping and getting the skin ready. You do want to optimize all of your serums. If you're using a great hydrating serum or an anti-aging serum or a vitamin C for your pigmentation, you want to get as much of that into the skin as possible.
Yeah, and steaming is like a nice gentle way to do that, because I think that certainly people are becoming more concerned about skin barrier function, and the fact that, when we get older, that isn't as efficient, and a weak skin barrier also lets in pollutants and all the rest of it, which can irritate the skin. So I love that.
Also quite a nice thing as well, sorry to interrupt, but for men to use. So prior to shaving, if somebody has quite coarse hair, and it gets quite ingrown, steaming can be quite good, along with sort of clay masks and exfoliants for men before they actually do their shave, because it softens all the beard growth and it makes the shave much easier.
Yeah, that's a good point, because we do often get the odd question come through, what about men? So yeah, that's I know that men care about their skin as well as women. So should we take...
they have the challenges of shaving on the face, which
exactly.
Have, so yeah,
100%. So should we take a couple of questions before we move on to the next step? Because we have a few pre-submitted questions, which I'd like to get through, some of them, as well as the live questions. So where should we start? So we mentioned rosacea. What is the difference between dry and dehydrated skin, and how do you treat them differently? This is a question I would want to know as well, because I'm constantly being told I have dehydrated skin, and I always think I have dry skin. So is there a difference?
There is a difference. It's a really good question, actually. Dry skin is a skin that is lacking in oils. quite often a dry skin is something that's more genetic, that you've had for a long time. And you notice more rough, dry sort of patches and maybe red underneath in a dry skin. So the skin doesn't have enough lipids and oils in it. A dehydrated skin doesn't have enough water, doesn't have enough moisture. So dehydrated skin tends to look maybe slightly more flat. It doesn't bounce the light back. You see fine crepey lines quite a lot. And it probably feels a bit tight, but it doesn't necessarily have the flaky, dry patches that you would have with a dry skin. So when we talk about dehydrated skin, we look at ingredients like hyaluronic acid and your super sort of moisture magnets, because it needs that water and it needs the moisture. When we're looking at sort of a dry skin, it really needs oils. So we look at kind of elixirs and oils like our overnight facial, which can put some of those omegas and essential oils back into the skin. But you actually also do need the combination of both. Yeah. Because if we sort of look down into the sort of cellular level and skin cells, every cell is like a little bubble, and it needs omegas and essential fats to keep its membrane sort of supple, like a balloon that you can kind of bounce around. If it doesn't have those, it tends to break open and then the water leaks out, and then you've got another issue with sort of dry and dehydration together. It's interesting as well that a lot of people with oily skin also have dehydrated skin. Yes. But people with oily skin don't necessarily have dry skin, but they can be quite dehydrated, often because products that are being used may be actually too harsh, because people with oily skin are so afraid of oils and richer products and things like cleansing balms like Ultimate Cleanse, but actually they're almost the best things for an oily skin because they regulate your natural oils. Whereas if you strip, your skin produces more and more oils to try and counteract it. And often from the stripping, you have that surface dehydration as well. Yeah. So it is quite difficult to work out for yourself, I think, whether you are more dry or dehydrated. I would say that if you've always had tight skin that gets flaky patches, can get uncomfortable after cleansing, you probably have more of a tendency towards dryness. And if you just find that when the central heating's on, different times of the year, or if you haven't been looking after your skin, it gets a bit tight and you notice your lines a bit more, that's probably more dehydrated.
Great. Good to know.
That was a very long answer. Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, also, certainly I know that as we age, we have less ceramides, which are the lipids, are sort of the mortar that keeps, moisture from escaping. So that can also sort of moisture loss can be quite a concern as you get older.
So they they work hand in hand, really. We kind of all need both, don't we? We need the oils and we need the hydration at the same time.
Yeah. So we're getting quite a few questions actually pre-submitted and coming through here about how to reduce pores. So do you have, I know we're going to get into pores a little bit later, but is there something we can do to reduce those pore size?
Yeah, I mean, if your pores are bothering you and they look more obvious, sometimes there's a couple of different things that happen with the skin. It could be that that they're blocked and you're getting sebum blockage in them that then is attracting dirt, makeup, pollutants. And actually you can address that by really good cleansing and maybe some mild acid treatments, either a peel in clinic or a sort of resurfacing liquid, where you can actually really just start to lift off the dead cells from the surface and enable the sort of skin to breathe and that lipids and oils from the skin, the sebum, to pass through. That's quite a good way of treating sort of visible kind of blockages in the skin. It's hard really to say quite often without seeing people's skin, because it can react quite differently to things.
Yeah. Okay, so should we move on to the next step?
Don't open and shut, they always say, don't they? Like doors, you can't sort of open and shut them, but you can soften the pores, you can keep them clean. If they're clean, they're less obvious. And one of the unfortunate things of us aging, the loss of collagen, means your pores do stretch a little bit. So they don't ping back how they used to, as with the rest of the face and body, because they have less collagen. So don't allow them to stretch by letting your skin get dirty or keep it really clean, I think is really the solution.
Yeah, and when you mentioned an acid peel, so would there be a particular acid you would recommend to use at home?
I'm a big fan of lactic acid,
Yeah.
partly because it's super, super gentle. And it's the one acid that can sort of do almost every type of skin, and it hydrates as well as exfoliates, as well as it brightens up pigmentation. And it tends to be much more gentle on people's skin. There are lots of others that I'm sure lots of people have heard of with glycolics and things, but sometimes they can travel into the skin too quickly. For some people, if they're more sensitive. So I think if you were new to acids, I'd look for something with lactic acid in. Interestingly, talking of rosacea earlier, if we were treating somebody with rosacea in clinic and we wanted to do a peel treatment on them, which you can do on some forms of rosacea, we would use mandelic acid, which comes from almonds, and it actually works really well on sensitive skin.
Great, love that. Okay, so we've talked about steaming. We're going to talk about extraction now. So extraction is that thing that your facialist does, and not something we're used to doing at home. And if we do it at home, we can damage our skin sometimes. So I'd love to know all your tips on how to extract correctly at home.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that people can't resist doing themselves at home. Yeah. So I never say to anyone, well, just don't do it, because I think that's unrealistic. It's about doing it properly. So if we were going to do some extractions in clinic, we would warm the skin. So we would do that with steam, for example. We would massage an oil product in a lot. So really working on where we were going to do the extraction with the steam. And we would prepare the skin. And then as we're extracting, we would have gloves on and use special cloths, but we would actually almost jiggle the skin. So we don't just dig at it like this. Yeah. And you can't use your fingernails if you've got fingernails, but actually you want to manipulate it, because as you do that, the pores sort of sits in the skin like that. You're sort of moving it about and you're loosening the debris and everything that's sitting in that pore. And then it can come out much more easily. And I always just say, if it doesn't come out at the beginning, stop. And it's really hard to do because you're desperate to get something, but it's best to stop. And we created a device for people to use at home if they wanted to use something that kind of brings those professional techniques to them at home, which actually has lots of those elements in it that we do in treatment. You can extract just with your fingers, but if you do that, you need to make sure that you've sort of sterilize your fingers. You're very clean in how you're doing it, because you don't want to spread any bacteria. This is the Propor Refiner. I'll show you just actually how it comes. So this is for someone who wants some serious extraction. Yeah. So it's a device, and you get actually the ultimate cleanse, which we've talked about a bit. So you can prep the skin with that first, and you get your nozzle, and as a charger, so you can literally plug it in to charge it up. And it has two different ends. It has the suction, but it also has this, which is like a thermal plate. Excuse me. And this basically heats up on the first setting. So it starts that thermal warming. And then it goes to a second setting, and it uses ionic cleansing again. So it draws the sort of negative dirt particles towards it. So it's bringing it towards the surface. And then it has a vibration. So a bit like I was saying, you've got to sort of do this manipulation. This starts to do that for you, so it vibrates. Then your skin is ready for you to turn the vacuum suction on, and literally suck away dirt.
I remember it's quite a unique sensation, but actually quite enjoyable. So would you recommend that everyone does extraction, or is it just good for blackheads or all kind of blemishes? Or
it's if you've got spots that have sort of whiteheads on them, it's not a good idea, because there'll be maybe some form of infection in there, and you don't want to spread that. It's really good for blackheads and stubborn blackheads. We've had lots of clients who've been using it on the back, either for themselves or for teenage sons or daughters, where there's those sort of quite firm, hard to reach blackheads or sort of spots coming up. Not everybody needs extraction. So I'd say if your skin is clear, and you manage it with everything else that you're doing. You don't need extraction. It's more if you've got sort of T-zone problems, if you've got maybe jawline pimples and spots coming up there. But again, if it's kind of weepy, or you can see the sort of whitehead in there, it's not a good idea to do it at that stage. Wait until that's gone down and then you can use it. But it's quite intensive. It's very easy to use because it's all the settings are timed and are there. So you just go through, you can sort of hear it making a noise. Yeah. It goes through the 3 settings and then up to the top.
Yeah.
You see now the sort of suction.
Yeah, it's very clever.
And I think the key thing was for me was to how do we extract safely at home, which is why we did all of this part of it. Because if you just dive in and squeeze without doing anything to your skin, or dive in and suck, you can cause bruises, you can break capillaries. The skin's got to be prepped. So that warming and vibration and using the ionic technology really helps you to be able to do it in a safe way. Super easy to use. The only thing you can do wrong with it is overuse it. So I always say to people, because some people want to sort of get hold of here and just keep going over, that's when you could get a bit of bruising or you could get some redness. So you really just need one sweep in each area to pick up the dirt and the debris that's going to come out at that point. And if you do it regularly, you'll see that the skin gets better and better and clearer and clearer. And then those people that were asking about pores, this is where you'll start to minimize the look of the pores. If you do this and you use some mild resurfacing liquid, like something with lactic acid in, like we talked about before, you'll start to get much more of that glass-like finish to the skin and less of the noticeable pores.
Yeah, it's interesting what you were saying, because I've definitely broken some capillaries, and over the years trying to, especially as a teenager, trying to sort of extract blackheads and around the nose and so on, and being too overzealous. So it's definitely wise to be cautious. Great. Well, maybe we'll move over to a few questions that have come in live, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
So let's have a look and see. Pigmentation. Did we discuss pigmentation correctly? I think you mentioned to me before we went live that there's different types of pigmentation. So it would be great to viewers to hear your thoughts on pigmentation and how to treat it, and if you can treat it yourself at home.
Yeah, I mean, pigmentation is one of those quite tricky sort of skin concerns, and can come from so many different sorts of ways. So some people develop melasma pigmentation post-pregnancy, which is kind of hormone related. And with that, you need to wait till the hormones have settled. Sometimes it sort of almost goes away itself, but sometimes it needs further treatment, but often a clinical treatment. Sometimes people have pigmentation, a hyperpigmentation, which has occurred from a trauma. So if somebody has been overzealous with spot picking or microneedling or some sort of treatment, microdermabrasion, that has slightly damaged the skin, and then they've been in the sun, they will develop a hyperpigmentation from that. And some people, it's just something over time, that's sun damage. So there are certain pigmentations that will respond to topical product, but I would always say if you've got quite a firm pigmentation, if it's on your upper lip, if it's patches, if it's quite a distinctive, you won't get rid of it with a home pigmentation product like a vitamin C. If you just feel like your skin is slightly pigmented, you'll really improve that by using products with vitamin C, maybe some home sort of peeling exfoliant liquids to prep the skin, and using sort of some skin brightening formulas. So serums that have got things like bearberry in, lactic acid, vitamin C, that start to really lift up that pigment. So you can get a really good degree of improvement at home. But I would always be really honest with people and say, if it's not going to go with home care, don't invest in lots of different serums and try, because actually sometimes it does take a clinical treatment. And there are a couple of clinical treatments that really work on stubborn pigmentation, but there are also lots that don't. So I think it's one of those things that actually, if somebody has got pigmentation, they're better off investing in seeing a specialist, a dermatologist, or a good facialist, and finding out what the cause of their pigmentation is, what the degree is, and whether they will actually get benefit from product at home, or they need clinical treatment, or in fact that won't necessarily work. Because you're better doing that at the beginning than trying lots of different things. We actually do a sort of online consultation service. So for people who aren't necessarily in London that can come to the clinic, a skin concierge where we do one-to-one consultations, so we could look at the skin and understand more, and then maybe advise specifically, because it varies so much. And pigmentation is something actually that people do get quite upset about. It's quite a difficult thing when you've got something that's there that you just can't seem to shift.
Yeah, and then certainly it can get worse over time, or worse when you go in the sun. So I think that's a really good point, though, about investing in going to see a good dermatologist or a good facial therapist, because that one consultation could save you a lot of money buying, all the wrong things. And a vitamin C serum is not going to do you any harm, because it's going to give your skin a nice kind of glow, but it's not going to shift serious pigmentation.
It's going to give you lovely radiance, but if you're wanting specifically on the pigment, you have to be a bit more targeted. Sorry for the coughing.
Oh, don't apologize. It's a lot going around at the moment. Everybody seems to be okay, let's see what else. So what about pore strips? Yeah, this is a good point. Do they damage the skin? Just going back to pores again.
Gosh, I've not seen those for years.
I know. I was just thinking about that. I used to use them.
I know. Well, gosh, when we were younger, we used to stick bits of sellotape on our nose and do
it.
I don't think they're the best way to get them out. They're quite satisfying. But you are, when you're taking them off, also taking off the skin, the dead skin in that area. It's a bit of a deep exfoliant. I'd probably say continuous use, quite a lot of them, is probably not necessarily good. But as a quick hit, they probably do work. You can see them, can't you, when you pull it off?
Yeah.
It's been such a long time since I've seen those.
But it is very satisfying. But I'm not sure it improves things long term.
No, and I'd probably say the same as I sort of said before, prep the skin properly first. Because if you've warmed it and you've softened everything and you've kind of given it a bit of a massage, when you do actually do the pore strip, you probably take out much more easily.
Yes.
So probably a better way.
Yeah, and speaking of congestion and so on, we did have a question actually pre-submitted about face masks, as in the face mask we're now wearing to protect us from COVID, and that can cause some congestion and so on for people. What's your advice to keep skin healthy underneath a face mask?
Yeah. It's a new issue, isn't it, now? Because it's something we didn't have before, because we didn't have the sort of COVID mask wearing. But I've seen it a lot and I've heard it a lot. Number one is washing your mask constantly, so that there isn't any buildup of dead skin inside, or makeup or dirt or grime, which I think a lot of people do anyway, because you want to clean off any germs and bugs. But so I think cleaning that regularly. Keeping the skin hydrated underneath is really key, because the fibers in masks are basically like friction on your face all the time. Some people I know are getting the sort of breakouts on the nose, where it's kind of coming across the nose. So it's that continuous sort of friction of the fibers, which is getting into the surface between those sort of dead cells and the bonds on the surface, and disrupting the barrier protection. So if you can use something underneath that's really hydrating, even if it's like an oil-free hydrating boosting product with hyaluronic acid, you're going to keep the skin sort of protected in some way underneath. Because I know lots of people don't want to put makeup underneath, or thick creams or anything like that. And then it's your cleansing at the end of the day. But I would also bring that beauty snacking element in again, and just say, if you're out all day and you have to wear a mask all day, take a little, travel set or something with you, and partway through the day, give your skin a quick cleanse, re-put on makeup if you've got makeup, or just your hydrating serum, and then put your mask back on again. It's sort of the perfect grounds for bacteria building, unfortunately. It's moist, it's damp, it's dark. And that is an environment that bugs and things will sort of occur. So I think, yes, it's the mask cleanliness, but it's also being conscious of your own, and maybe doing that a little bit throughout the day. If you're somebody that maybe your job has you wearing a mask for sort of 10 hours a day, I think it can be quite troublesome. And also, I've noticed with some people, it's not even necessarily breakouts. It's where it's sort of rubbed its sore. Especially if they have to wear more medical masks because of the paper. So again, the more you can treat your skin underneath with some forms of protection is good.
Great. Okay, so moving on to microneedling. Now, I know microneedling is supposed to be great for rejuvenating the skin. I've always been a little bit scared of it in the past to do, because there are different rollers, and I get a little bit nervous about damaging my skin. So take us through microneedling. Like, what does it do for the skin anyway?
So microneedling, interestingly, we've done microneedling in clinic probably for nearly 15 years. So it's become a massive trend in the last handful of years, but we've seen people who've been having it for a long time and not seen any negative effect whatsoever. Microneedling is using a specific device with tiny, tiny little needles, and they can be something like 0.2 millimeters in length, up to 1.5, but 1.5 would only be done in a clinic in a sterile condition with anesthetic. It's quite a different treatment. So a microneedling treatment in clinic, by basically rollering needles onto your skin, which sounds horrible, but it's not. They're very short, they're very tiny, but they create little puncture wounds in the skin. And what your skin then does is it produces collagen to try and heal those little wounds. You can't see them. They're microscopic. And the other benefit, it's almost like aerating a lawn. So if you were laying some lawn seed, you have to roll little holes in the lawn first for the seeds to drop in. As we said earlier, the skin is a barrier. We want to get product that we know will work through that barrier and into the skin. And microneedling does that, particularly the home devices that aren't as deep as some of the clinical devices, because it just in the surface creates these tiny little punctures. Then what product you put on can drop through those and spread within the skin. So it works on two levels, an absorption, but also on collagen production and healing. And there have been some fantastic results over the years in more clinical treatments on things like acne scarring, operation scarring, wound scarring, things like that, because you can really kickstart the fibroblasts to produce their collagen. We created a device, and it's interesting what you said as well about sort of being a bit scared of it, because lots of people are, and they say they don't know. Normally they're made out of stainless steel needles on the roller. And a lot of people are afraid they're going to roll too hard, or they're going to cause any damage. So we created a roller that actually doesn't use real needles. It uses crystallized hyaluronic acid. So it looks like any other sort of microneedling roller that you would see. It comes in different parts. I'll just show you as I open the kit. This has got 3 treatments in it. So you get a specific ampule that you use with it. And then you get 3 roller heads. And the reason you get the 3 of them is because they're disposable. So the head actually has tiny microscopic needles on it, which are made from peptides and hyaluronic acid. So as you roll it onto the skin, they start to dissolve. So you can't over-roll, you can't over-treat, you can't damage your skin. But it also means that as that little pinprick goes into the surface, those ingredients are dissolving right in the skin where you need them. So it's a sort of double dose. I'm going to just open one of these so I want to show how to do microneedling as well.
Yeah.
The key with actually doing your microneedling at home, whether you're using a stainless steel device or this, is actually to roll in as many directions as you can. You want to cover as much surface area as possible. So when you take these out, you can just snap it in. You won't even be able to see the little needles through here. Tiny.
Like a paint roller.
Yeah, exactly, like a paint roller.
Yeah.
And there's just lines and lines and lines and lines of these tiny little spikes. And what you want to do is basically on clean skin. So once we've done our cleanse and prepping, is you would take sort of an area and focus on that, and you would roll in one direction, and you can press quite firmly, and then you would take it across that, bit like a hashtag, and then you turn it into a Union Jack. So you want to fill in those diagonals. And you can basically do this in areas all over the face. So even around the eyes. So if I wanted to do sort of on the eyes, you would lift up your eyebrow, and then you would roll literally onto the lid. And if you wanted to get to lines here, so if I wanted to get to these, I would pull down and use the bone as support and really roll underneath. And you can see I'm not even sort of wincing.
Yeah.
Some of the clinical ones you do wince, but this one at home, it's you can feel it. It feels like when you've just done a sort of more of a scratchy scrub, you know, when you can just feel that sort of tingling on the skin. And so really you want to work the whole face. And then after you've done that, you would put the ampule on, and then you roll over again, and the ampule dissolves all of the peptides and stem cells and hyaluronic into the skin with the needle tips dissolving. So it's a super duper sort of rejuvenation treatment.
And yeah, you mentioned doing it around the eyes. Is that so? Does this help with like fine lines and wrinkles?
Yeah, totally. So fine lines and wrinkles, it will help from the collagen induction, but also from the product that you put on with it, and the fact that this has got so much hyaluronic acid in it. So hyaluronic acid, we talk about so much, and again, I have people that say, but it's an acid, isn't that scary? Yeah. And it's not. It's a moisture, it's a sponge. It's naturally present in our cartilage, in our bones, in our bodies, in our skin, but it deteriorates like collagen and everything as we're getting older. And hyaluronic acid basically draws moisture to it, and it holds it like a big sponge. So if you have fine lines of dehydration and you roll with this, you've got the hyaluronic from here, plus you've got the ampule basically going in and plumping out the skin underneath. But the long-term effect obviously is the stimulation from the roller and the action of the peptides and stem cells. So it's not just it looks good for the day that you've done it. There is also the long-term benefits from it as well.
It's a bit like a sort of a mini manual version of a laser or radio frequency or something, where you're creating a controlled injury, which then prompts the skin to start healing itself.
Exactly.
Yeah. So over time, I mean, that's a thing at the moment that I think people understand now, that there is that immediate result that you can get from certain creams and lotions and so on. But the long game is, just improving tone and texture and radiance over time, which is what these devices or salon treatments can do for the skin. Yeah. Just kind of keep those, as the collagen levels are depleting, kind of try and keep up with keeping them.
Yeah, I sort of say, our cells and everything get a bit lazy as we're aging. It's all just part of the process. And when we say aging, we're not sort of saying, suddenly it's all over. I mean, aging starts from, it starts from when you're born, but it starts with a lot of the breakdown of collagen and things actually starts in your 20s. So we're not talking about just a certain sort of age group necessarily. And anything that we can do to help our skin do its function better is the best way to treat the skin and to use a device. So like you say, we create a little bit of trauma, but it's your fibroblasts that then produce the collagen to heal that area. And then they're kind of like, I'm awake now, I'm back into action. So there's a long-term effect of them becoming more activated and helping improve the skin. And actually anything that we do deeper down in the skin improve will help with various other things, even things like pigmentation, because it won't, again, get rid of it like maybe a laser or something might, but it improves the condition of the skin and the health of the skin, because all the cells that maybe weren't functioning the way they should start to activate themselves much more. And it's so easy for you to use, because you literally, as I said, you just kind of do your rollering, your kind of hashtagging, just thinking about the needles are basically in lines, and you don't want only lines, you want every little area done. So you can sort of roll it in lots of different directions.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, let's take a couple of questions before we move on to the next step. So we're getting another question about rosacea, microdermabrasion or needling. Is it suitable for people with rosacea?
Microneedling possibly can help. Again, you'd have to be cautious with microneedling. Microdermabrasion actually is something that I'm not really a fan of. As we just said, we want to try and encourage the skin to do its action and produce more collagen and help the circulation and drainage. Microdermabrasion for me is stripping away the surface to make the skin temporarily look better. And I've seen personally lots of people then have issues with their skin later on. So it's not a treatment that I've ever done. If you find that it suits your skin, I'm not saying don't do it, but it's not something that I would recommend. I would much rather go through the sort of microneedling route. And with rosacea specifically, I mean, rosacea, the skin can get really quite dry and quite rough. So I'm wondering if that's why this person was asking for those kind of treatments to just try and soften it all. I would prefer to do that with very, very light microneedling and the right kind of products, the right serums, lots of hydration.
Yeah. So we're also getting some questions about what is the difference between microdermabrasion and microneedling, and they are quite different.
Yeah, so microdermabrasion is basically using a tool which sort of sandblasts the skin. So it basically takes away all of the dead skin on the surface, and it kind of polishes it like I want to say like a car polisher, but I don't mean it in a bad way.
Like sandpaper, isn't it?
Yeah, sort of, and it's quite. They can be done with crystals, like quite sharp crystals, or it can be done with literally almost like a piece of sandpaper. It gives a really nice result after the treatment. There's no doubt that your skin looks kind of polished and tight, but the long-term effects is consistently stripping the acid mantle, the barrier, all of your protective layer, which we try to build up and protect, because as we get older, that protective layer starts to go anyway. So what we want to do is encourage the thickening and redensifying of everything so that your skin looks better and healthier and stays healthier for longer. So for me, it's sort of working the wrong way round. It's sort of stripping the skin from the outside to get that polished look. If you do have microdermabrasion and you like it because it gets rid of that, I would go for a peel instead. Yeah. A peel doesn't have to be a really serious, everything falls off type of peel. They can be mild through to those. But with a peel, it's controlled digestion of the dead cells. So it's not sort of sloughing and causing micro tears to the skin. It's actually a controlled exfoliation that will then also trigger off your natural healing process by nature of a peel. So that's a sort of better route to go down.
Love that. Okay, so we're running out of time. We're running out of time. We've got sort of about 12 minutes left. So we're moving on to masking, but then also massage, which I think is the bit that people are going to be, well, I'm so excited to see how to do the facial massage at home and the various things you can do. So should we try to cover massage next and briefly incorporate face masks?
Yeah. So if we were doing the sort of the facial at home idea, and you've done your sort of cleanse and prep, steaming, any extraction if required, your microneedling, get all of those lovely rejuvenating, plumping ingredients in. We then probably put a mask on after that. So like a nice cooling, calming, hydrating sheet mask, and then do some massage. So I'm going to show two different sort of ways of massage. So I would always massage with overnight facial, which is like an oil elixir. So a product that's got a nice slip to it, that's got lots of nice active ingredients in it. And then you have your free tool at home, which is your hands. And your hands, if you learn how to use them, can give you great massage, whether it's for 5 seconds in your cleansing or 20 minutes giving yourself a treatment. So don't forget about using your hands. But we did develop the facial lift to mimic what we do in the treatment room. So I'm going to show you with my hands, but I'll just show you this first, and then you'll see. So this is something that's very simple to use.
Got mine here as well.
Just push and roll. It's got 48 little nodules on it, and it's like a wishbone shape. So it expands to your
Actually really nice. This is so much easier than the gua sha, which I love. I've actually recommended a gua sha tool in the notes that is very affordable and gives great results, but this feels completely effortless.
This is so easy because you don't have to learn to use it. So you can use the gua sha tools or rollers like Jade rollers. They're really nice if you keep them in the fridge, but you've got to get your actions with that to get that kind of sculpting and lifting.
Yeah.
Here, if you just want sort of the lazy girls version, you just pick it up and roll. And I know lots of people have them sort of sitting on their desks or on their coffee table. You can do this every day or once a week, however you want to use it.
And Sarah, can you just explain what is massage or rolling in particular doing for our skin, and why should we incorporate it?
Yeah, massage. I mean, massage has been used in sort of facial treatments or body treatments for years. It stimulates blood circulation. Every time you stimulate circulation, we want to see the skin go pink. You want to see the flush. Your blood basically floods into the area and brings in oxygen, nutrients, and lots of good things for your cells and that whole area. So it's like feeding your skin. It also really helps with lymphatic drainage. So if you tend to get heaviness, puffiness under the eyes, maybe on the body, it will help to drain that away. So it gives you kind of a sculpting. And you can, with massage, really sort of take away so much tension in the face. So I always used to have a client who say to me, oh, you've given me my brow lift again today.
Yeah.
And it's really because with frowning or with doing this, all of this sometimes is just purely from muscle tension. So massaging and really working all of that, you can help to release it. And suddenly you look like you've sort of lost a few years and lifted and fresh and happy. So you need to have something on your hands to give you a bit of slip. Yeah. So, but not too much that you can't get a hold of the skin. So our massage that we do in treatment is a sort of gymnastics massage where we combine a few different things that can be quite vigorous. If you're doing it at home, you can do simple things like pinching. And if you pinch, I can already feel like I'm getting some blood flow to the area. You can start to sort of lift here. And just take away, if you're noticing maybe that there's some dropping here, or you're noticing the jawline is changing shape, try and do some sort of lifting, just using your knuckles. If you're just wanting to give a good overall cleanse, what I love to do is use the knuckles. So I'm going to put a bit on actually, just to give myself, because we're nearly finished. I won't look.
Yeah, I think also, I as well forget that actually the skin is not just the skin, it's the muscle and the bone, and the whole face works in synergy with each other. So you can't forget about stimulating the muscles in the face. And if you do, you might have great skin, but everything else is dropping down. So
exactly, it's also integrated, isn't it? But the face also with the body, because we sort of treat from here to here. We don't do body treatments in the clinic. It's very, very face focused. But actually, if you do things to your body, it can help your face.
Yeah.
So if you give your body a really good massage, you're helping drainage throughout, because it doesn't. Yeah. There's no line that stops it here, is there? So so we do actually have a body version of the face one as well that you can do arms and legs and things with. So something that stimulates everything here before you do your facial kind of massage.
And you could presumably you could use a dry body brush, which you can get quite cheaply, anywhere. I mean, Body Shop do a good one, but a dry body brushing is another way to, I mean, people haven't, it used to be very popular, and now there's all kinds of fancier tools, but it does work as well
they work really well.
Yeah.
Also, because you're basically, when you use the dry body brushing, you're boosting that circulation. So like we talked about, you want to get the blood flow, but also you get the exfoliating from it, don't you? So the skin gets a polish, and then the blood rushes in to sort of feed everything. Yeah. So dry body brushing is great. And with your face, you always want to, if you're massaging, sort of start from the center and working out. So you have your lymph nodes here. And if you can just massage onto those, it will help to sort of drain away any puffiness or toxins that are kind of sitting there. I've probably got a few in there at the moment from the cough and cold.
Yeah. And Sarah, you mentioned using an oil or a cleanse. I mean, at what stage should we be doing this, or can we do it at any time during the day?
If you're doing a facial treatment at home, so you're trying to sort of mimic what we're doing in clinic, it would be, so you would do your sort of cleansing prep, steaming, extractions, anything that's about the clearing of the skin. Then you would do, say, your microneedling or a device like that, and then your massage. So your massage comes towards the end when your skin is really prepped and it's ready and it can absorb everything, and then you can leave all of that on. If you want to do massage at any other time, you can incorporate it into every day by just doing it with your cleanser. So when I put my cleanser on, I take it all over, I do my eyes, I put it everywhere, and then I massage like this. So I just use my knuckles, and then I get onto the lymph nodes and I kind of do it down the neck. And actually, if you have got any fluid buildup or toxins, you can feel that. So you'll be able to feel yourself where to sort of focus it and where to kind of take it down. So if you did that for 30 seconds with your cleansing even, that would make a difference every day. And it might be that the eyes are your sort of issue area. So you could just do a little bit of massage around the eyes and just up into the eyebrows. So you can snack your massage again, just do a little bit every day or every couple of days, or you can sit down and give yourself like 15, 20 minutes of just really good massage that kind of gets everything pumped up.
Yeah. It's interesting because certainly when I do go for a facial, or it's quite rare these days, but I always realize the power of touch. And actually, when somebody's doing that to you, you realize how much better you feel. But also, I mean, I have a face that, if I have, a drink of alcohol or like anything sugary, or, it gets quite puffy immediately. So, you can literally just re-sculpt your one amazing facial. You leave, looking like a completely different person. Sometimes, at least I do.
Sometimes they're like, oh, my cheekbones have come back again.
The jawline and everything. And then you just feel this, like, we don't realize how much tension we're holding in our jaw and our face. So
I think also if you're doing your sort of facial massage for yourself at home, great if you can take it right down onto the décolleté. But also really try to incorporate some neck stretches and different things that starts the blood flow all around here. Because actually, if you're somebody that's quite tense, or you're sat at a computer or anything like that, you're stopping the sort of the blood flowing through. So actually, if you think about when you do some face massage, also to try and stretch and to maybe even just massage the back of your neck for a minute, it can make quite a difference as well. But yeah, I think the power of touch, we really learned through this last couple of years how important that is. And self-care is so important, which is why I think people now are really, really keen to do at-home treatments for themselves, to be able to do all of that. But also clinical treatments and massages and things are wonderful as well.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I feel like I've got so many good tips and things that we can do with your amazing products, and also without. I mean, we've got a couple of minutes left. Should we just see if we can take a couple of questions before we say goodbye?
That's gone quickly, an hour. I hope
it's gone so quickly. Every time I do these, I think, how are we going to fill a whole hour? And it's always there's always so much to say. Let's see. Recommendations for face masks. So obviously you have your own great one. We've got, I mean, somebody did ask about sheet masks. So what's your opinion about sheet masks?
I really like sheet masks. We have one. Sheet masks are very easy to use. You can load them up with lots of great active ingredients. They form like an occlusive barrier on the skin, so it really helps to push the moisture into the skin. I think, I mean, there's so many different types of good masks. We do another one, which is actually based on clinic facials, which is an alginate based mask. You mix it up in a shaker, you paint it on, and it sets like rubber. And as you peel it off, it just lifts off all the dead cells on the surface. Or you can have a really traditional mask, and some traditional clay masks are brilliant. They're just a creamy clay. You look for things with like kaolin or bentonite in them that will help draw out impurities.
Yeah.
Or a traditional gel mask that's got all of the hydration in it. So you can go from really sort of a pot or a tube of a mask through to kind of much more technical. And I think sheet masks have been really popular, certainly over the last few years.
Yeah, and you can get
easy.
Yeah, biodegradable ones now and so on.
Ours is made from like a coconut pulp, so it's nice and safe and friendly.
Yes, certainly we've got we on the beauty desk like the Body Shop Drops of Youth concentrate sheet mask, and also the Tired Faace, which is FAACE mask, mini mask, which are both quite affordable. Yeah, so I think that's all we've got time for. Can't believe it. Yeah. Yeah, it was really fun, and I learned loads, and I hope that everybody at home enjoyed it. So thanks, Sarah, for joining us, and I hope you'll come back and do it again. Thanks for joining us.